Hey everyone, and welcome to this video. Today will be a little different because it's going to be voiceover all the way through. We are painting this red dragon that used to be on this base, and I used my cutters to get it off. It took a little bit of work, but it worked out in the end, so I got it off without breaking any of the toes or anything on the dragon. This is a pre-painted model that you buy painted, and it's been sitting in the window for like years, and it's very faded in color, and I just wanted some fun project to work on. So I decided to see where we could take this without stripping it of paint or without priming it with a spray paint first. So I went over it with some wash, just some brown wash from Games Workshop. Then I decided to try to make it this underbelly kind of thing a little better, because the pre-painted ones, they're okay, they're actually pretty well painted for pre-painted models, but it's not the same as a real hand painted one. So I went over it with some colors that kind of matched, and as well on the little spikes and stuff on the wings. And I used like a little up and down motion kind of to make it seem a little more like bone and a little more natural, instead of just painting it in one big swoop motion. And because I'm going to do several layers of this in lighter and lighter colors, I'm kind of hoping to create a little bit of a natural effect. So instead of it being completely smooth, it hopefully gets a good effect. So I went over all the spikes and everything here, and then I went in with the lighter color. It's not that much lighter, but a little bit. And I painted the same area, but again, a little bit smaller, a little bit further down to sort of highlight everything a little bit. And this is some sort of fun project that I've been wanting to do for a while. We have a lot of these models. We have like 10 dragons, like different dragons, standing in the window, and they all just faded from the sunlight. And my first plan was just to prime it with like a spray prime and paint it from scratch in that way. But I decided it might be more fun to see where you can take these pre-painted ones without actually having to start completely over. And at the same time, it was supposed to be a project for me to practice some skills. I am very into practicing layering and glazing and stuff at the moment, and all these spikes seemed like a very good way to do that. The dragon, I don't know how much it shows up on camera, but the red part is very faded and more brown looking, and I thought back and forth a lot about how to brighten it up a bit. I first thought of going over it with the Blood Angels contrast paint, but decided that might not work so well, and dry brushing might just give it a little bit more pow to the color. So here I'm dry brushing the wings, and as you can see, it actually adds quite a lot of color to it. I think there's a clip in a second where you can see the difference, and I don't know how I feel about dry brushing. It's one of those things that I often do, and I always end up hating the result, because I don't know if I'm doing it wrong, maybe I'm doing it a little weird or something, but it always ends up looking a bit smudged and grimy and actually not very good. Yeah, here you can see the difference between the the right wing and the left wing, how much different the dry brushing actually did. And I did that for a few layers, and thought at this point that was a good idea, but then thought, screw it, I'm just gonna wash over it. So I just created a wash, like a heavy wash, with some of the same red paint that I used to dry brush. I just added some water into it. And at this point I also realized that all the time I spent on painting the little bone spikes on the wings was completely wasted, because I'm gonna go over it a million times with red paint. So I'm gonna have to repaint that a little bit later, which yeah, you know, that happens. And I kind of wanted to keep that in the video, because I figured everybody makes mistakes, and it's just part of painting, and you know, working around your mistakes and getting over it and just making it work for you anyway. So sometimes it's just like that. And again, as I said before, like this is just a project for me to spend some time in self-quarantine and not going crazy. And yeah, I decided after all the red washes, I think I went over like 3 times on the entire dragon's red parts with the homemade wash here. Decided to wash over it with some Earthshade from Games Workshop, and I'm kind of going over it like sideways to pick up a lot of the details in the wings because it has so much details here. There's so many like ridges and stuff, and going over like sideways adds a whole lot more definition in the wash here. So I'm trying the best I can to show you. I did most of the dragon like this. And here you can see my very own homemade wash holder so I don't tip him over. And while all the wash is drying, I'm working on the base of it. I'm using toilet paper, which I know is like a hot commodity these days. Styrofoam and some plastic glue. And like, who knew that plastic glue is melting styrofoam? I had no idea that would happen. So I had to go over with styrofoam balls like a million times because it just kept melting away. So now I decided to go in with like a big old makeup brush that I have with some more lighter dry brushing to add again a little bit more redness to the wings. And as you'll see later, I'm gonna mess the wings up completely because I think, oh, I have such a good idea. Which you can see now, I decided to add on some like orange dots, like spray it on with the end of a dry brush because I thought that might give a cool effect. And as you can see, no, it doesn't work. It looks very weird. So I figured I'll paint on some bigger orange dots because then it might look like it's done a little bit more on purpose, like it's actually not just a random accident that I sprayed orange paint on it. And I keep adding some of these orange dots and hoping for some sort of cool effect to show up. But as you can see here, it just didn't. It just looks sick, and I was very close to naming this dragon COVID-19. So I decided to just paint over it with the red contrast paint, and I'm gonna do that in so many layers to cover up the orange dots. And while all the wings layers are drying, in between that, I'm working on the tail, trying to do some layering, some glazing on the end of the tail to move it towards a little bit of a lighter red color, just because I was bored waiting for the wings to dry. And as I said before, I'm very into glazing at the moment, trying to figure out how to do that in a nice way. And again, I think I'm personally just gonna have to say dry brushing is not for me, and it's never gonna be. This is the base. When it's done, I spray painted it brown, washed it over with some homemade brown wash, added a lot of hobby glue and glitter. I also glued on a few silver pieces of bits I had lying around. And as you can see here, the wings actually turned out okay after many layers of red contrast paint, and I decided to just leave them there. The tail turned out very nicely, and I contemplated if I should do some orange on that as well, but figured orange on this dragon is just not happening. So yeah, overall it might not look that different from when it began. It still looks pretty standard, and I feel like that's okay. I actually learned a lot painting this dragon, and as you can see here, this is the finished result. I'm happy that I did it. I spent a lot of time on it. I had a lot of fun, and I just kind of wanted to show that sometimes you make mistakes and sometimes that's okay, and you can still have a nice product in the end. So I hope this video is okay. It's a little different from what I normally do. I hope you're all doing well out there and taking care of each other and yourself, and I hope that you will subscribe to my channel, and I will see you again soon. Bye!